You or someone you love dealing with an inflammatory disease, and you're trying to figure out what you can do on a day-to-day basis to significantly improve your outcomes. I'm Hannah Mason, and in today's Spark, we're going to be talking about how we can stress ourselves sick. In the past two videos, I've been talking about diabetes and other inflammatory diseases and how the inflammation itself is mostly what gets us sick. And in yesterday's video, I talked about how diet has a huge effect on inflammation. That when we eat a high protein diet, it causes all this acid to be produced in the body, and the inflammation is the body's response to try to chill out all of that burning inflammation. So the question is there anything else that causes that kind of acid inflammatory response in the body? You betcha, 100%. Now, the vast majority of your body runs on an alkaline state, but there are certain functions here and there that are actually acidic. And one of those functions is a hormone called cortisol. You might have heard of cortisol. You might have heard of it being talked about as a stress hormone. Cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands, which are these tiny little pocket things that live right above your kidneys. And when your body is under stress, so your adrenal glands will produce cortisol. And the purpose of cortisol is to get you ready to run or fight when you're in danger, like if there's a jaguar and you're in the jungle and it's chasing after you and about to eat you. It's a really good idea to go into a highly alerted state. So what does cortisol do? It has a number of functions. One is it focuses your blood flow to shoot out to your extremities, meaning your hands and your feet, so that you can run that much faster. That's what, if you hear those stories of women picking up trucks to save their babies, that's because they've got so much more blood flow going to these muscles that give them so much more strength than they normally have. But that also means that the blood flow here in the center of the body gets limited to a major degree. Because the reality is, if you're running from a jaguar, don't matter so much if you're digesting your lunch, right? Like, you can digest your lunch later. So your digestion literally shuts down. So if you've ever found yourself like totally stressed out, and you'll notice that you'll either get diarrhea or constipation, both of those are extreme states of your digestion not working right. So diarrhea is when the whole digestive system just kind of shuts down, and so the food just comes out the way it came in. And constipation is when the digestive system shuts down and the food just gets stuck and moves really, really slowly. So you see in a normal way how stress can create the cortisol response that will get certain systems to shut down. The other system that shuts down is your immune system, which is why people will get cortisol as an immunosuppressant, right? As something that suppresses your immune system. That's what comes up in inhalers. Inhalers have cortisol in them, and it makes people's immune systems shut down so that they can reopen their airways, because there's all this inflammation in the airways, and in order to chill out the inflammation, which is created by the immune system, you can have an inhaler. The challenge, of course, is that the inflammation is there for a purpose. So rather than trying to deal with the cause of the inflammation, they're just kind of covering it up and telling it to stop. But if you want to, for example, do a liver transplant on a person, so you actually have to give them cortisol to shut down their immune system so that their immune system doesn't attack the new liver, because that's what our immune systems want to do when foreign bodies come in. Now, not having a functioning immune system also makes sense when you're being chased after a jaguar, because who cares about a virus when there's a jaguar? And mind you, the jaguar is temporary. We're talking about 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe an hour. And then the body's like, oh, okay, everything's fine, and things can chill out anew. The cortisol gets flushed out, and you go back to a normally alkaline homeostasis where everything's good, your digestive system turns back on, your immune system turns back on, and everything is awesome, right? Your breathing no longer has to be shallow. Your heart rate, instead of racing to keep all that blood flow that you need, can chill out, and everything's good. Except I'm sure you've already heard so many times and through other sources and blogs and videos and books that part of the challenge of the modern world is that we don't have jaguars anymore, but we've created all sorts of forms of stress that sometimes keep us on a high stress level all day long. So instead of having the acidic cortisol that's shutting down our immune system and shutting down our digestive system and getting our heart rate going like crazy and our breathing really shallow and all of this stressful stuff, instead of that happening for a short period of time, it's happening all the time. And because cortisol is being pumped out like crazy, and because it's an acid itself, it's an acidic hormone, so it's creating so much more inflammation in the body. And you might be saying, wait a second, I thought inflammation was something that the immune system did. And yes, it is. There's only so much the cortisol that your adrenal glands produce is really going to suppress your immune system all the way. In the meantime, it's trying as best it can, patchwork emergency services, to deal with all of the inflammation that the cortisol itself has created, which is crazy, right? Like the cortisol itself is eating at your tissues, which is causing more stress, which is causing inflammation. And if you deal with an inflammatory disease like diabetes or heart disease or arthritis, so just dealing with those diseases can be stressful. And that stress for a lot of people actually ups their cortisol level. And it can be kind of a cycle. So there are so many things that you can do to chill out your adrenal glands. Everything from breathing exercises. When you start breathing slowly in and out, this type of breathing automatically resets everything. It tells your body, I'm safe, because we only breathe that way when we're safe. So we actually can breathe ourselves towards a state of calm and safety and get our cortisol levels down. We can engage in meditation, yoga, prayer. Another thing that we can do is engage in like an intense form of exercise, right? Something that's going to get our blood flowing and get us moving. What that does is it actually burns the cortisol. So you might notice that if you're stressed out and you go for a run, it's like you've got so much energy and you burn through all that cortisol. The other thing you do is you produce a whole bunch of endorphins, like happiness hormones, basically, that make you feel so good. And then you've got more energy and more calm and more ease and more vitality. And you can also sleep better. And sleeping also helps to regulate your hormones, including cortisol. Because if you're underslept, you might notice that on the one hand, you're exhausted, but on the other hand, you're wired as can be. And that's just like a crazy way to exist. So again, I want to remind you, the two core things you can do to deal with inflammation: one, reduce your stress levels, get yourself doing exercises that chill you out. And the other is eat a diet that's anti-inflammatory. Chock full of plants, chock full of fruits, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains. We're talking about a whole food, plant-based diet. So it's not just taking the animals out, it's also putting the rich stuff in. And you might be like, wait a second, you didn't go into detail about that. That's because that's tomorrow's video. What's the ideal diet to reduce inflammation in your body? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, if you know that you're dealing with inflammation, either in your mind through depression and anxiety, or in your body through things like diabetes or heart disease, and you want to shift into a happier, healthier, more vital and excited state, I'm here to help. You can set up a discovery session with me to see if working together would be an ideal thing for you and for me. You can do that here on Facebook by sending me a message, or you can sign up right away at my website at hannahmason.com. In the meantime, I wish you a beautiful day. Want to experience more clarity, vibrance, and joy in your life? Book a discovery session with Hannah at hannahmason.com/joy.